believe it or not, a lot of banks did not believe that I did what I did at Goldman. So I actually need to take a lot of stuff off my CV to get another job. So that was another lesson for me. Goldman hate. There's a lot of Goldman hate on the street.
Okay.
I've been in situations where I've heard that someone said the reason they don't trade with me is because I'm black. So I thought stock pickers would be a side thing, and then they'll call me up and say, but it just didn't work out that way. And then stock pickers started to kick off with Clubhouse and all the, my profile was just rising. 2022, 2023, it was a down year. And in a down year, what do people do? Oh, this ain't for me. I lost it. The reason they stay is because I can have a down year 50% today and people are still staying, because they're not staying because they're copying what I'm doing and making results in that. They're staying because they're learning. They're staying because they know that I'm the best person. The SPA is the best environment for them to navigate this background that you can apply straight away with me as a driving instructor.
Guidance, okay.
Right next to you, every step of the way.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Against All Odds. My name is Daniel Coker, your accidental podcaster. And our guest this week is one of the hottest financial experts in the UK right now. He's just phenomenal. I actually can't believe he's here in the studio with us. And he's in the person of Debo Osekita. Did I pronounce that right?
Yeah.
Close? It'll work.
I've had so many different pronunciations of my name. I've had, the proper pronunciation is Debodun. That's the Nigerian pronunciation. Yoruba. But then you have Debodun. That's what the teachers would refer to me as. And then you have Debs, and then you have man like Debs, and Debodun.
All right. So Debs is the founder and the CEO of Stock Pickers Academy. Amongst many other things that he's done in the past. Basically, in a nutshell, he started off life in a South London estate, actually the same estate where Damilola Taylor was murdered. I think they were neighbors or something like that. And inner city kid proper. And then went to the City of London school for sixth form.
Yeah.
He did 6 A-levels and he had 6 A's. Went to Warwick University, studied maths, operational research, and economics. See, I've done my homework.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Then he worked in investment banking. He was a trader. He worked at Goldman Sachs. He did worked for a hedge fund as a multi-asset trader. And now he runs his own financial coaching academy, as well as does a lot of trading on the side and other businesses on the side. So, Debo, you're welcome to the Against All Odds podcast.
Thanks for having me on. Thanks for having me on.
Debo, before we get into the nitty-gritty of, because I listened to one of your videos last night and you're talking about index funds and compounding and all that. Before we get into all that, just tell us a little bit about your story, because I don't see how a kid from a South London estate, council estate, manages to keep their head screwed on, and navigate all the gangs and all the pressures and everything. End up at Goldman Sachs, as a trader, and then you actually leave Goldman Sachs. I mean, who leaves Goldman Sachs? You go somewhere else to hedge fund trading, and then you leave all of that to teach people how to manage their money. I mean, how did that happen?
When you put it like that, I do actually take a bit of stock and really deep the journey, because sometimes it's very easy to just be so, I'm not there yet, this is where I want to be, that you don't actually realize against all odds. It was against all odds. And maybe I should even talk about how my parents came to the UK.
Yeah.
Because I don't really tell that side of the story. So my parents arrived in Peckham, and on the day they landed in the airport, they didn't know where they're going to stay.
Wow.
They had an address that they were supposed, my granddad somewhere, they were supposed to stay in, but they got there from the airport. My parents arrived in this country with maybe what, £60. Back then, 1987. My mum was pregnant with me. My brother was 1.5 years old. And a random taxi driver in the airport actually reached out to my parents. Do you guys know how you're going to get from me to B? My dad was like, no. And the story goes, they ended up in Peckham at that address. The bags burst. Ghana must go bags. You know them?
I know that.
The bags burst in the streets of Peckham, and they literally had to carry to the house. They got to the front door. The woman was like, nope, we didn't know you were coming. Didn't expect you. My mom's pregnant. So they stayed a night there. And then they've had to go through the benefit system eventually to get a bed and breakfast. And then from that point on, the benefit system has found a council house for them on North Peckham estate. Notorious estate. I was very sharp as a child. So I remember the earliest memory I have is being 2 to 3 years old. And I remember being in nursery at the time. And one of the earliest memories I have in nursery is at that age, there's one scooter, right? And me and my friend, it was our scooter. Everyone else needed to go and find other toys to play with. And that was my closest friend at the time. And he died. I didn't understand the concept of death when I was 3 until that moment. Because he just wasn't there. The next day, where? He just wasn't there. And it turns out, because I asked my mum about it, I could talk at that age. I was very aware.
Eloquent,
yeah. And it turns out that they were the victim of an arson attack.
Oh.
So him, his brother, and his mother all died.
Wow.
They were burnt in.
Wow.
And I remember being very, very sad. And
this is all the North Peckham estate area.
Yeah, that same area, because we were so close that my dad used to drive us to both families to nursery at the same time.
Oh.
My dad is very kind, so you'll see them walking and squashing the car, getting a lift.
Yeah.
Right. So that was quite a tough one to take. And it was my earliest recollection of experiencing death before the Damilola situation. Right. So got through nursery. I was very, very troublesome. From the age of that early memory, I remember being 2.5 years old, was being sent out of the classroom in nursery. And if you get sent out after 1 p.m, there's a high chance that your parents could walk in and see you sent out. So it was like a race against the clock to when they let me back in to checking the doors to see that mum doesn't arrive. And I did get caught outside a couple of times, because it wasn't just once. And it was very long for me when I got home.
Yeah.
Went to the next class, but this time, this tie here. So my parents, going through the benefit system, started to get education. There's some grants that you can use to study for PGCE, so you can become a teacher. But in the meantime, what they did is they started to paint silks.
Oh.
I don't know where that idea came from. Don't ask me. And my dad is very entrepreneurial, he's a goal-getter. So it wasn't just, we're going to paint silks. It's, you can all paint silks. It's not going to be dad and mum painting silks.
It's all of us.
Whether you're 3, whether you're still in the room, you're all going to paint. So I don't know who actually painted this one, but this tie is nearly 30 years old.
Wow.
And I've probably worn it 4 times.
Okay.
So there's a whole collection of them.
Okay.
So you can see the surname, Osekita.
Oh, wow.
Hand sewn and painted.
Oh, wow.
Looks really nice.
It does look nice. Yeah, it does look nice, yeah.
And I
very authentic, very vintage.
Yeah. And Another story about the ties is one day they loaded the boot with all these ties and waistcoats, because I used to go to fashion shows and they would have models and display the artwork, and eventually they started to sell the ties exclusively at Harrods in that time.
Wow.
Harrods had an exclusivity deal. So imagine you've got your stock, you put it in the boot, you go back inside, and by the time you get back out, the boot has been opened and it's been stolen.
No way. And this is all hand painted stuff.
So a whole collection was actually stolen. I've never seen it.
Wow.
Can you imagine how devastating that is when you're using this to put food on the table?
Yeah.
So my parents had to hustle and they had to graft, and I enjoyed my childhood. My parents instilled confidence in us. You were taught to like what they could afford. No means no. If this is what we can afford, that's what you're going to wear and you're going to like it. My mum used to make clothes for us to wear because there were times she couldn't afford, but she had a sewing machine. So I've got pictures of me going to nursery in hand-painted clothes. In this day and age, it's amazing. But back then, it wasn't the case.
Yeah.
But I had that personality where no one's bullying me.
Okay.
No one's bullying me.
Right, okay.
Maybe it's because I come from ancestrally like warriors.
Okay.
And my dad also, when you instill confidence in a child from a very young age, you don't really feel like you're being bullied, or you can stand up for yourself.
Okay.
So fast forward to nursery, I remember I was 6 years old, year one. I learned my times tables with the cane. I learned and I know we're in an area where it's like you can't hit your kids and this is you're being too harsh and all of this, but if you look at the stories of David Beckham, if you read when they start talking about the relationship with their dad and how strict they were, you can see that is needed to get to the very top for a lot of kids. And I definitely needed it. I can never look back and be like, I didn't need it. Did it work? Yes, to an extent, because there's still, that thing will always be there. But it helped me navigate the environment that I was growing up in. And when you come from poverty, extreme poverty, because there's some people that grew up on the council estate that they had the latest trainers. They may have been struggling in the sense of like, we don't own our own house and stuff, but when you go through school, they had the latest trainers, they had the latest clothes, they weren't bullied, they pretty much got what they wanted financially, and they were all right, even though they may have struggled academically. So the Peckham stories are interesting. I had some run-ins with some groups of boys when I was quite young because my mouth was, I didn't see age and I didn't see size. If my mouth was just like this, right? But I knew where the line was, right? So I knew that there was no way I was going to end up in a gang. I was going to end up doing dodgy things because if I'm poor, I'm poor. I'll be content with what I have. If you bully me, if you want to say things, you can say all of that, but I'm not going to cross the line. And the way I was raised made me very peer pressure resistant.
Okay.
I don't smoke, I don't drink, and I grew up in an environment where people were having sex in primary school, drugs, smoking weed at the age of 8, 9, 10, and it was, you had to make a decision. And the decision wasn't, I'm going to drink, but I'm not going to smoke. You were either all in or you were all out, right? And I chose to be all out, and I was very proud and stubborn and resilient enough to say, I got a kick out of not folding. Okay. Right, and I was very confident and had the personality not to fold. The Damilola situation is very close to my heart. Rest in peace also to his dad as well. Yeah, and his mum. Yeah. The guys that actually were responsible or were held responsible for the murder or the manslaughter were my direct next door neighbours. Wow. And I knew Damilola. Just from around you. Peckham is very community. You see people, you see when someone new comes around, you see the gangs, the multiple gangs in there. it was a tough time because not only was he a Nigerian who had just come over and was trying to navigate Peckham as well. The people that were responsible were people I grew up with. We had sleepovers in each other's houses, and just the same way I had that friendship with the guy whose family got
arson attacked.
Yeah, it was the same way. We had a similar friendship. So they would eat in our house when their mum wasn't back, we would, like childminder kind of vibes, and vice versa. And we used to do homework together, even though we went to 2 different schools.
Okay.
They saw our house as
an extension of their house.
Their parents saw it as, if you're in there, you'll be responsible.
Okay.
So that's where it kind of started from. And we were friends. We played football all the time. We went to play centre together in Dulwich, same car. And I think when that incident happened, this was a turning point. Because this was the first time my parents were just like, if that can happen with people that we know, that we're friends, we know the whole family and stuff like that, there's no house parties for you down the road. No more, it was a very, very strict, protected regime from that point onwards. And I was in year 8.
Okay.
And I was already getting in trouble in school. I had a report book. I got kicked out of my primary school for swearing at the head teacher. I had too much boldness. And also I realized I like to entertain people. I was a bit of a class clown, but it was more from a place of, we're all struggling. If I can put a smile on someone's face, then at least it helps. Was it enough to be excluded? Probably not, but in that time, it was. Moved to another primary school, and I said, this is a clean slate. I'm going to behave. I'm going to be the nice guy in the classroom. I'm going to be the teacher's pet even. Yeah. and it worked for a week, for a month. and then I don't even remember the transition. Okay. All I know is I joined in year 2, and by year 3, I had a report book. And do you remember the report books that they write every day? Yeah. I think they invented a report book in the school. And then there was this whole, you got this ADHD, you've got some sort of this and that. And that's what actually led to me getting moved up a year. Okay. So I got moved up a year in school. Okay. So I spent the rest of year 3 in year 5. Then the next year I stayed in year 5. My parents, well, your older brother can't be the year below you, so he went to year 6. He was a year early as well, so he went to secondary school a year early. I went, it was only a matter of time. The first 6 months of being with the older boys and the teacher that no one messed around with, it worked. But you get comfortable, people start forgetting that you're and then the behavior problems started to pop up again. Okay. But I was very serious with my academics. So I learnt my times tables when I was 5, 6 years old. And from then you get motivation in the classroom. And my parents never really, after the age of 7, the only problems I had was behavior. Okay. But in terms of academics, I was self-motivated. They didn't need to worry about that.
So how did you get into City of London School then? So
this is a even funny story. So I actually did my maths GCSE a year early. But because I was a year early already in school, it's like I did it in year 9.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, when I was 14. And I remember in the mocks, I got the highest mark out of both my year and the year above. Okay. So I was very complacent. I got an A star. I was very complacent. And in the real thing, I got an A and I was fuming. Okay. Still a year early, but I was upset. And the environment of school was, of my secondary school, St. Thomas the Apostle College in Nunhead, Peckham, was toxic. Okay. Right, this kid is always getting kicked out of lessons for doing something or saying something funny or just but academically, his homework is always done. It's always on time. He's excelling. He's top of the class, and that kind of followed through to year 11. I always pushed myself, so I was the first in the school to do the triple science.
Okay.
I got 100% in my chemistry GCSE, and then I got 99% in English literature.
Okay.
Right? And those were my two highest GCSEs, not maths, which was my favourite subject. Yeah. So I had all these kind of stories with my education, and I don't think I did that much work at home. I was just very bright, and I knew how to pass exams and study for them, and I had a very photographic memory.
Okay.
And I was bright. So at the end of sometime in year 11, a lot of children in the class in the year group were applying for these private schools. And the story goes from year 8, year 9, my mum will make me all of us take these entrance exams for Cove School, for Dulwich College, and we'll pass them. But then they'll be like, oh, it's an 80% scholarship.
Okay.
And that extra 20% just wasn't there. It just wasn't, there was no money, right? So no one really offered 100% scholarship. Okay. So when I got to year 11 and I saw these kids applying, this ain't for me. I'll go to SFX, Christ the King, or Haberdashers. I had my heart set on it, and I had a place for Haberdashers. I had a place for SFX. And I was ready to go. But way after the deadline has passed, my tutor, who was also my geography teacher, and also the one that actually realised I had dyslexia, because halfway through my GCSE exam, I was still on question 1. And she tapped me on the shoulder and said, yeah. And that was the first time I really realised that there was something wrong.
Okay.
But it was at uni that I really got diagnosed properly, because that's where it really affects you. Okay. Because A-levels, you're doing subjects, maths, physics, chemistry, economics, additional further maths. Whereas at GCSE level, you're still having to do your geography, your French, your subjects that will really catch you out big time for dyslexia. And put things in perspective, I was predicted A star and I ended up with a B. It was my only B. Okay. Is that correct? No, incorrect. Ended up with an A. Okay. My only B was music. Right, okay. And my only C was electronics, which was a whole disaster. Right, okay. But she started to take an interest in me, and she called up the school and said, she told me to apply, and I said, I don't want to apply. And it wasn't just I will not apply. She called up the school in June. Bear in mind, this is at the end
of the admission.
Yeah. She's called up in June, applications closed in November, and she said, there's this kid who very, very bright, just doesn't want to go. Can we at least secure him an interview and skip the process? Somehow they agreed. And then she didn't tell me, she told my parents. So then I didn't have a choice. So I said, okay, I'll go. And I realised that it was one bus from Peckham, the bus 63. Yeah. So I was already quite excited. Oh, just one bus. So all that, I'm going to be travelling and paying this. Remember EMA, we had this EMA that we were getting that pretty much by the time you've done travel and even low budget food is done. So I went to the interview, realised how quickly I got there. 30 minutes, one bus just from North Peckham Estate. I can do this. And I just wanted to go straight away. The minute I walked through the gates, realised just on the side of the River Thames, just walk down there, because I've had artwork displayed at the Tate Modern. So, and this school is literally opposite the Tate Modern when you cross the Millennium Bridge. So I was familiar with the area, I had the nostalgia, and I was like, I want to go here. I need to, now I was very, I hope it's not too late. I need to do well in this interview. So they gave me a tour of the school first. I did the interview, I did really well. She really liked me. And I was just like, but there's one problem. I said, if you were to offer me a place, I probably can't come because there's no 100% scholarship. And she looked me in the eye and she was just like, we don't offer 100% scholarships. And I was like, exactly. I said, even if it was 99%, I don't. So she said she'll see what she could do. I think that caught her by surprise. And lo and behold, she had some conversations and the 100% scholarship was created. It happened. And then she asked me if that was the same for anyone else who had applied, and I said probably. So on the back of that, the 100% scholarship happened for the others.
Oh, okay.
And not only that, on the back of that, they now had a relationship with the school where every year the 2 brightest or the 2 or 3 brightest students were offered the 100% scholarship. And that went on for quite a number of years until it hit my brother, who was 4 academic years behind. And the brother of another boy who started with me, who's my good friend as well. So that's how that happened.
Oh, wow, okay. Well, that seems to have been a pivotal point in your career, obviously coming from a state school in Peckham and suddenly finding yourself in the likes of the City of London school and all that. So then from there you moved to Warwick to do MOS, which is Math, Operational Research and Economics, which seems to have been a foundation for your subsequent career in trading and banking. So just tell us a little bit about that.
So, City of London School, they asked me what subjects I wanted to study. And I wanted to do maths, further maths, physics, chemistry, all my favourite. And the careers lady looked me in the eye and said, you can't. There's too many coming from your background, whatever. And the first eye-opener for me is when I got there and realised that most people had 6 A stars at GCSE. I had 4 A stars, 7 A's, a B and a C. And it was the highest results in the school's entire history.
Okay.
I know that I should have got more A stars in like maths, in PE and RE. These are ones where I got pretty much 100% in the mocks and didn't revise, just walked into the exam and didn't work out.
Okay.
But yeah, that's the worst thing to say to me. That no, you can't because you're not. I said, no, I'm going to do the 5. Right? And I didn't know that you could do 3 A levels in maths.
Okay.
So maths, you do 6 modules. Further maths, you do another 6. Additional maths, you do the final 6. So you end up doing a whole A level in statistics, a whole A level in mechanics, and a whole A level in pure maths. And usually you're just doing some of each to get each new. So you do 18 exams. And the last one I just learned in my own time because they didn't teach it.
Okay.
But we had so many free periods in a day that I didn't actually need to do so much at home. Okay. And some of them are actually not that difficult. You just need to buy the book, go through it, practice, do the exams, and I found some of them even easier than the ones that we're actually being taught as well. Especially some of the more advanced modules because it's application. So I ended up with 6 in the end, even though I planned to do 5. And it wasn't a smooth journey. I think my AS levels was like A, B, C, or something like that. And I was like, okay, I need to wake up. And results day was amazing. I was in the Evening Standard. But I was surrounded by people who had knowledge of what careers were out there in that school. So I heard about this program called the Brokerage City Link. So between year 13 and first year uni, I did this internship at HSBC in middle office. Okay. Right? And halfway through that internship, I started with photocopying. Okay. Boxes of confirmations. Do you know the confirmations? But do you know what? I was looking at how much they were paying me. I was like, they're paying me $2,500 a month. Bear in mind, we're coming from EMA. So I went from £30 a week, which is like £120 a month, to $3,000 a month. Photocopying. I said, listen, I'm going to photocopy anyone has ever done in history. So
that's funny.
they must have thought, what is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
This guy's a machine. Because let's say the person who was mentoring, I had someone who was my manager for this photo. Because you had to scan the trade confirmations in. Then you had to go on the computer and approve it. Yeah. Now, imagine they say, listen, throughout the week, there's 3 boxes here. Hundreds and hundreds of documents you have to individually scan. And then some of the papers are torn and...
You've got to remove the paper clips and all that.
Horrible stuff now. But then, I was like, I had this mindset where if I did this amazing, they'll give me something else. Yeah. It didn't work. But for 4 weeks, I was breaking records. Yeah. I was doing double what anyone had ever done before. Okay. Because it's tiring. But I'm an athlete, so it became a sport. An endurance sport. How many can you photocopy without getting tired? And then I went to see one of my managers and his payslip was there. £80 an hour. Then I started to do the maths. £80 an hour. So if I can end up managing a team in middle office, I can be on this kind of money. Then I woke up again. Mm-hmm. And I had a conversation with him. I said, how can I get a job here full time? My mind just went straight to them. How can I end up in a C here where that can be my trajectory? Yeah. And he just said that it doesn't work that way. And, I just need to go back to uni, do well, make some applications. And he will always be there for me. I can't remember this guy's name. Okay. So this is where, I wasn't in my networking bag. Okay. And it was the fact that I forgot this man's name that made me become an expert networker. Okay. Because it never happened again. Right. But I remember the lady who... A lot of these guys are out of the industry now. Okay. Because this was 2006. Mm-hmm. Sorry, 2005, summer. So, no. Yeah, 2006 summer. So that was my first taste. Halfway through that internship, my results came out and I was in the evening standards. I came joint top in my A-levels for the school. Mm-hmm. And I was very proud of that because I remember when I came in and I felt very mediocre. Mm-hmm. Everyone had 5'8". So I was very proud of that. But they took a photo of all of us. They put us in the evening standard and someone in the bank recognized the face, brought it to the next day. I was on Excel spreadsheets. Okay, from photocopy. I was on, I didn't photocopy a thing again. So options, swap confirmation, derivative confirmations. I was now double checking the numbers made sense on spreadsheet. And I did that for the rest of the internship and I won an award for intern of the year for the brokerage and I kept my relationships with the brokerage as well. Went to uni, but when they took me to the trading floor in that internship, they gave me a tour of the trading floor for the first time and it was non-farm payrolls on the day. I said, so there's more. My career plan changed immediately. I said, I don't want to be up there. I want to be here. I need to be here. And I went back to that guy. I said, that place that took me downstairs, I need to be there. How do I end up there? Yeah. And he said, it's really hard, but just start, networking and learning and this and that. And when I went to uni first year, I've already got that trading floor was in my head. Right, okay. Right. Okay. Uni was tough because in my first year, I did quite well. Exams all the time. I didn't enjoy my course at all. Mm-hmm. It was I want to be an actuary because I heard somewhere that they can pay you 40K. 40K? 40K as an actuary. I said, if I reach that, I'm ready to retire after 5 years. And that's the thing, like you hear the numbers and you compare it to 40 grand a year.
Yeah.
I'll have better houses, I'll have this. But then now I've discovered the trading floor.
Okay.
A natural interest now, because it's what you buy low, you sell high. What there's all this noise.
Yeah.
It was like football.
Yeah.
There was something there that I knew I wouldn't get from, because my course gets you exemptions on the actuarial exams, and the actuarial exam is like you're doing exams for 7 years to qualify. And I was thinking 7 years. This one, BSc, in. I remember my course lecturer, he was he was so upset that I converted from MMORS, because that's what I actually got into.
Yeah.
And it's hard to get onto MMORS. MMORS is you're doing a 4-year master's in it.
Oh,
But you do that when you want to actually become an actuary.
Right, okay.
And the last year you're specialising in.
Okay.
I said, no. I'm not on this actuary thing anymore. I'm on this trading thing.
Yeah.
So I started doing all these virtual trading games and winning in uni. I was like, I'm actually good at this thing. Applying.
Yeah.
And then the brokerage were able to get me another internship that same year, the following year, because I did so well the first year. I did that at what was called Santander Abbey in the asset and liability management division. So there I was really doing some hardcore trading, credit, bonds, repo, spreadsheet stuff. Then I got to shadow some traders as well. So it was a bit more on the trading floor, but it was still a high street. Santander I was there when Abbey got taken over by Santander.
Okay.
That transition, that was my summer.
Right.
And then that was the start of the credit crisis, 2007.
Okay.
And then went back to uni, and then it's like, okay, Barclays, Goldman, JP. Nah, that's when I was like, these are the banks I need to be in, because I didn't understand all that stuff. But when I was there is when you realize there's something called Goldman Sachs. There's JP Morgan, there's there's Lehman Brothers. So I said, okay, I need to hit these ones. But I've got experience, so I know that will help me. Midway through second year, my grandfather passed away, and we went to Nigeria to bury him. We were there for nearly a month and a half. Bear in mind, you can't miss a lecture of this course. It's long. You have to. They don't release the lecture notes until after the course, so you can't catch up unless you have someone else who's written the notes and you're now copying. It's impossible. And that affected my year in a way. And I realized, I think I got like a third or a 2-2, or a low 2-1 that year. And then I realized, for me to get a first in my final year, I need to do extra modules and I need to average like 88%. Possible. Let's do that. So I went all in. Didn't work out. But I realized, okay, I need to sacrifice a bit of my degree and go all in on my career, because that's the end goal. So I took that gamble and it paid off. In the end, I ended up with a 2-2. But Goldman Sachs was the only bank that was ready to overlook your degree. They don't care about your degree if you're good enough. Okay. And by that time, I'd done the Goldman Sachs Spring Week, not got it converted to the summer internship because I fell asleep. I fell asleep in an MD talk. Not good. It was a roller coaster. Okay. So what actually happened is my dad had open heart surgery.
Oh, okay.
On the weekend, and I didn't basically sleep that Sunday, and I came in on Monday, and I was
you're gone.
I was gone, and I couldn't tell anyone because I felt they'll think I'm weak, and that will affect me because I'm trying to be a trader. Yeah, right. But a trader has to be strong. So I remember this day because all I remember is I said, "How can I fall asleep here? Let me sit at the back." I wanted to sleep. I came in like it was part of the plan. Like, this is the session where I'm going to catch my sleep. So I put the paper up, and I was so finished. Yeah. And I did this thing. Yeah. Like, that just looks like you're scratching your eyes, but I knew what I was doing. All I heard is, "We have a sleeper." The way my eye just... I mean, was I sleeping if I heard the words? But HR's in the room. Everyone's in the room. Yeah. Everyone's looking at me like this crazy guy. I don't know if they were thinking black guy or whatever, but that Spring Week is one of the most competitive to get a place on. 40 people globally get a place on that swing week.
Oh, wow.
And it's not just your age mates.
Okay.
PhD students, MBA students. I was one of maybe 2 black guys on the entire course. And the other guy had been flown in from Ghana on some kind of program they were doing. There was a black girl I went uni with. She wasn't in. Yeah, she got on. She actually got it converted into the summer and did well. But that moment for me basically killed off my chances. But I was impressing people. But I knew that moment I killed off my chances. I remember walking through the trading floor and this guy asked me, I told him I wanted to be a trader. He said, what's 99 squared? And I answered him. I answered him in time that he was shocked. And I said, well, I'll do 99 times 100, 9,900, and I'll take away 99, which is 9,800 and add 9,801. That was how I did it on the spot, in front of everyone. And he gave me his business card and said I should keep in touch. But I knew that moment there cost me a summer internship at Goldman. So I went back to uni. So I started applying to Barclays now. We go to your plan B, your plan C, your plan D. Yeah. And now I was ready because that experience on the Goldman Sachs Spring Week, they taught you how to network. They taught you all the different desks. Like it was phenomenal. I had a whole book. I still have the book of all the notes I took. I said, there's no the next interview I arrive in, I'm going to be head and shoulders. Yeah. So I remember I did a numeracy test. I got 100%. These guys looked at my CVs. They see 6 A levels. By that time, the 2-2's not out. So they're thinking genius kid. Yeah. I did 7 interviews with different desks, and Barclays had this system where they only select the top. So you can only select one desk, and that's your entire internship. No rotation. I remember my 4th interview. My 6th interview. Right? This guy's like, every single the interview went like this. I know you're good because every single person, literally everyone is raving about you. Like everything you've done is turning to gold right now. And he says, so I'm not even going to test you. Yeah. I'm not going to interview you. I'm just going to make you an offer. That if you choose my desk, you will get a permanent role. I said, so things like this can happen. After the stress I've been putting myself through, the other interviews, they're asking me these brain teasers, and I was like, okay, I need to, you need to think about it. So I said, let me think about it. And I thought about it. EM swaps trading, interest rate swaps. I never really knew much about emerging markets or what that could mean and this and that. Because I always wanted to trade Forex, and the other option was FX options, Forex options, which was a natural passion for me because at uni I'd just been trading a pound versus a dollar, and Forex was But this guy's guaranteeing me a full-time job. Yeah. And it's on that basis I chose it. Oh, okay. And I really enjoyed that internship. And then Lehman went down. And then that's when I realized that work doesn't mean anything in banking. Yeah. So I went back to uni without a job. Headcount. They even changed management from Bob Diamond. A lot of things just changed. And I was like, wow. So after all of this, I don't have anything. And I was looking at my uni like, I know where this is heading. So it's like, going into final year. And I'll message every single person I'd met from Goldman. I had their name, their email, first name, last name. I was guessing. I knew it. I hit them up. I was like, listen, you see, when I did the Spring Week, I didn't know anything. I didn't even know what a bond was. I didn't know what a swap was. But you know what I've done? This summer internship. This how it went. I was pricing forwards. I was pricing options. I was market making. I was getting involved. I was top 3 in the trading game like they did for the end. Yeah. I was really pitching myself and. I got some good responses, like encouraging responses, but I don't think it was like, we come in and whatever. So I kind of stopped. I'd gone through the whole list. Then I applied to Lloyd's. I said, listen, Barclays had me, Goldman's had me. Let me apply. Let me just secure something. Didn't revise, didn't prepare for the interview. I just competency. This was first round.
Okay.
Give me an example of a time you've worked in a team. I said I know this one. At Goldman, I worked in a team. But I hadn't stopped to think of my answer. Okay. So I was just winging it. But I didn't know I was winging it. Because in my head, I was explaining.
Yeah.
That rejection was the worst. That rejection, it pained my heart. First round. Yeah. No one had ever rejected me first round. But then I realized you have to prepare. Some banks, they take certain things way more seriously than your academics. Like, do you want to be here? They must have realized that this was some plan Z.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So the rejection came, and there was me emailing for feedback. Why didn't I get through the first round? That is just... And they're like, we just felt you were not concise in your answers. And everyone else was. And that was it. And I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't prepare, basically.
Okay.
And I learned from that. End of uni, done my exams. I know where it's going to go. I got a random call after a party. Sunday morning, I'm in my friend's house. On the couch. That's where I slept. My phone is ringing at 7 a.m. on a Sunday morning. And it's this guy from Goldman Sachs saying he's come across my CV.
Okay.
So what's happening is Goldman will pay you and investment banks will pay you if you can refer. Okay. So there was a role. And it was for an experienced hire. Someone that already had a 2-3 years experience for a role. And this guy saw the money opportunity, sent it around to all his friends. And my friend Grace, who she was actually interning at Barclays, she went to uni with me. Really great mentor in my career so far. She just put my CV because she knew what was going on. And the CV went around. They heard about it. They said, listen, there's no job for you because we're looking for an experienced hire, but we want to bring you in anyway to talk to you. So maybe they had a couple of options. 20 whatever interviews. You're just coming in for 2 interviews on Monday. End up doing 5. But let me tell you this. I went to that interview and I said, there might not be a job, but these people know people who know people who know people. Pinstripe, gold suit, leather briefcase, polished. You know those old school ones? Inside every certificate I've ever had in my life. My GCSE ones, my everything. I went to that interview prepared, right? I was like, do these people know I fell asleep? Do they know, like, it's the same bank. Surely they talk. I just didn't talk on that, right? And the first interview, do you know what short selling is? It's equities. I spent all my in rates, fixed income. This one is asking me what short selling is. I said, you know what, I don't know what short selling is. So the person explains to me what short selling is and what they do in that side of the division and how they trade and how they run the book and this and that, how the business works with hedge funds and prime brokerage and market making and index. So that first interview was an education. Next interviewer comes in. Do you know what prime brokerage is? Yes. It's this. That first interview is what got me the job at Goldman in the end because the rest of the 9 interviews, I was the guy that this guy knows what prime brokerage is. This guy knows what short selling is. This guy knows what this is. But the person in the first interview really helped me, right? And then I had the technical stuff, which I was good at anyway, and the trade ideas. But throughout the interviews, every interview that came in, I said, as I'm answering this question, I just wanted you to, these are like a few certificates that I got. Oh, okay. This is the group project I did on my spring week at Goldman, where I was basically creating a
pricing
an option, an exotic option for commodities. And I still had the laminate. This is why it's so important to keep stuff. I'm a hogger. So I was, and they're seeing that, I presented it, and they said, okay, so what was this about? And I knew my routine. Okay, you come back tomorrow. Came back tomorrow. The next day, Osekita. These are the ties I wear to all interviews.
Okay.
Right. Sometimes you might see me in another tie, but when it's business, because I know it's a talking point.
Okay.
Right. So got to Friday now. I knew I was impressing them. I knew that these guys are wowed by me, and they asked me this really hard probability question, and it threw me. I didn't know the answer, and then something happens and it clicked. The guy said to me, he walked out the interview, he said, come back and tell me the answer to this before you leave today. And in my head, all I heard was, get the answer to this and you'll get a job. And I was stressing. I was like, this is my token. This is my opportunity. Yeah. Stressing. I was writing all kinds of stuff. In between interviews, I'm still... Then the partner, the head of the desk came in and said, what are you doing? I was like, oh yeah, we've got this. I got this thing that I need to give to Martin Cott. I was very good with names, and they like that. Listen, when I say I was planning that interview well, everything, and I was learning on the job and everything, I knew they liked. I was saying people's first name and surname. So first question in the interview, so who have you met so far? I'm reeling off first name and last name. Okay. They love that stuff. Okay, this person is good at building relationships. So that was a really, really good time. I eventually didn't hear about a job for like 3 months. So I thought, okay, there wasn't a job. And it's August. And I'm getting a call on the way to football, being told that I've got a job. I parked the car and I started shouting. And then I started messaging people, and then I messaged my parents and like, I got a job at Goldman Sachs, I trained in blah, blah. That was a good time. Yeah. I remember that time, it was a good time.
Yeah, that sound that way.
And I don't know if you remember Facebook back then, where you have your profile picture. But maybe the equivalent today is you announcing something on the post and people posting it to their Instagram story. Back then, people changed their entire display picture. So I posted this picture of a boat party, of me on a boat at the end of Barclays summer internship. They do a boat party. So it's me in my suit with my red silk, Osekita silk tie. I just logged onto Facebook. And bear in mind, I only told 2 people, and I told them in confidence. I went online. Yeah. And about 30 people had changed their display picture to that picture. I was like, wow. That was the first time I realised that I knew I was a role model, but it's the first time I realised that my progress inspires other people. Because I know there are some people really who didn't believe that they could end up in the city, and that moment for them was like a watershed moment, like that. Wow, so it's possible. If Debs can do it at Goldman, I can do it at Barclays and JP Morgan, and that's when I realised. I felt a bit of pressure now. Okay, I need to perform.
Wow. So after all of this, you moved around a number of places, and then you now run Stock Pickers Academy. So tell our viewers, what Stock Pickers Academy does. I know you run courses, and like I said, I watched one of your clips last night, and the way you explained compound interest and index funds and all that was just phenomenal. So you're very good at teaching, which I think is something you mentioned before.
I used to help people with their homework in primary school.
Okay.
Some people didn't know how to do long division, and I was the one. The teacher, I was the one that says, this is how I do it, and this is a trick that you can use. You're multiplying by 11. Add the first number and the second number. So 63 times 11, 6 plus 3 is 9, is 693. So I used to teach people different tricks, how to spell Wednesday, believe it or not. Wed, Nes, day. So all you need to remember is the NES. Friday, easy. Thursday, I knew that Tuesday and Wednesday were the ones that people used to get stuck on. So I've always been able to put things in the language of the person in front of me.
Okay.
If you're a PhD guy, I know how to talk to you in PhD. If you're a vanilla guy, I know how to talk to you So it's about understanding who's in front of you and how you can put and relate what you want to get across in the language that they can understand. 6 years into my career, bear in mind at Goldman, I was managing an $8 billion book.
Oh, wow.
Right? We were market making CFDs and swaps and equities to hedge funds. And on the back of that, managing the stocks and the inventory through treasury products and swaps with other banks. So you needed a lot of counterparties. You needed to understand corporate actions because they can happen on those stocks. You needed to call up treasury. You can't just buy stocks. You need to borrow the money first and then
funded,
and buy the stocks. And then you need to pass on the cost of borrowing that to the hedge fund. So you make money by adding a bit more in the interest rate to what you charge a hedge fund to what your internal treasury is charging you to borrow the money. So you make money on financing.
Okay.
And I made my name on something called financing arbitrage, which is there's other banks in the street and everyone has all different levels. Knowing what everyone does and being able to make money on financing arbitrage, making money on corporate action arbitrage, mergers, dividends, scripts, which are stock dividends, where you can receive your dividends as stock, and then managing relationships. So let's say Goldman Sachs only did business in that space with 4 banks. By the time I left, we were doing it with 30, which meant little young 20-year-old, because I was the youngest ever trader in the London office. Because I graduated when I was 20, and I'm a late bloomer, so my birthday's in March. I started in August, so I just turned 20. So I was this baby-faced guy, ending up at industry events where I'm Goldman's sole representative in this space. It was a one-man shop. That book, that trading book, is one person that manages it in the team. And on the back of that, you do projects. So I actually used to do some project management with the trading book. Our booking tools are inefficient, so I had to create a whole new booking tool, which means goes through legal. You're having conversations with legal, you're having conversations with middle office, with IT, with technology to build this product out. So I did a lot of this kind of stuff. And yeah, I built brand new relationships from scratch. And it was on the back of the relationship I built with Barclays that got me the job at Barclays later on. Believe it or not, a lot of banks did not believe that I did what I did at Goldman. So I actually need to take a lot of stuff off my CV to get another job at some point later on. The only person that could vouch for me was a guy I actually spoke with who was he's now the global head of that business in State Street. At the time, he was doing the same thing at Barclays. So I said to him, what was going on? I said, I'm interviewing. These guys don't believe that I built these relationships and I did this, but I know you do. And there's an opening in your team. And that's how I got the job. He put me through, I interviewed, everyone could see from the way I talk that I know what I'm talking about and I got the job. So that was another lesson for me. Goldman hate. There's a lot of Goldman hate on the street.
Okay.
Because a lot of people maybe tried to apply there, got rejected, and it's still like, they interview me to figure me out. Why did Goldman hire you? What's so special about you? To the point where I was at an industry event and an employee at JP Morgan who was a global head started grilling me at the event. That's a social gathering of everyone in the market. He was trying to embarrass me in front of people, and that got back to my firm. They called up his boss and said this is out of order. They had to apologize to me. And I've been in situations where I've heard that someone said the reason they don't trade with me is because I'm black. Yeah, but they said it in confidence, not knowing that person, everyone liked me and that person would feed that back to me. So I've had to navigate a lot of difficult things. I don't drink, for example, and someone told my boss that Devs can't last here because he doesn't drink.
Yeah, because a lot of these things.
But then I went on to build the relationships, and it really rattled some people. And I was a networker, which meant that I was going boxing with the global head of trading, and some people didn't like that. So some of those people are watching my WhatsApp stories now, and they support what I'm doing with stock pickers, and even though they've left and gone on to hedge funds or other things. So networking is so important, and also just being confident in who you are.
Fantastic.
But I didn't answer your question.
Yeah.
The actual answer to your question is 6 years into my career, I didn't know what financial literacy was. I didn't know what stocks and shares ISA was. I'd never checked my pension. I was just going through it. And this stuff doesn't get taught. When I left Goldman's, they rang me up and said, if you don't move your pension within a year or whatever, you lose it. Because it was invested in a Goldman, I think, I can't remember who they were using. And I realized that it took me 11 months. It was when I was going to lock the thing off is when I actually, okay, what's this? What am I losing here? How much is in there? What can I do with it? That's when I heard about Hargreaves Lansdown and what a SIP was. So that's when I moved my pension to a private pension and realized I could actually pick my stocks. Then I created a WhatsApp group. Well, I had a WhatsApp group, which was mainly black people in the city.
Okay.
Actually, black people in front office in the city. And I said to them, guys, have you ever heard of this? Has anyone, you know you could pick stocks in your pension if you move pensions and consolidate in past workplaces? Like, no. Well, yeah, there's a situation I found myself in, and I just thought, I'll take you all on the journey. And it was on the back of that I started picking stocks in my pension. And it took me 3 years for that to become a profit. But they watched that whole process. They watched when I bought Toller Oil, they watched when I bought some more, they watched when I finally broke even, and then the following year made 80%, and then they saw the following year another 50%, and that was the start. And they're like, Debs, you need to create another group. And you need to invite everyone. And that's how the Stock Pickers WhatsApp group got created. And that was around 2014. And that's been running for nearly 5 years, 6 years, up until the pandemic. And then maybe 1 year in, the WhatsApp group was full. 250 people, WhatsApp had a cap, that was it. There was a waiting list of like 300-400 people. And then I heard about Telegram during lockdown. So that's been running full. Sometimes some people leave and I can add some more. The start of 2020, I said, you know what? How about the people that can't get in? Because they're missing stuff here. I created a website. I created an Instagram page at the start of 2020. And then I created a Telegram group in February 2020. The pandemic and lockdown happened in March. The bottom of the market happened after the crash. The bottom happened on my birthday.
Okay.
And Debs, can you look at my portfolio, please? Debs, can you look at my portfolio, please? I was looking at people's portfolios, spending hours and hours and hours on Zoom. Not getting paid. Because for me, it's like, this is give back. I can't get paid for this. But then 50k portfolios are coming, 30k portfolios are coming. I'm like, this is things actually taking. It was actually the fact it was taking up my time rather than the size of portfolios. That was, I'm spending too much time on this. And I just moved back to London from the Channel Islands. So I was out there working for a quantitative hedge fund. And what they do is they use mathematical models to trade the markets. Moved back to London. My dad had cancer. I felt I was too far away. I'd done 3 years there. I was like, now I need to find a similar job in London. I got one quite quickly, but it was in Oxford. I was like, isn't that the same thing? So I was like, no, I can't go there. And yeah, lockdown happened. So it was like, oh, this is going to put a delay on things. And then I got free, after a period of 6 months without anything that I wanted. I'm very stubborn. Has to be what I want. I can't just fold and go into consulting or compliance or whatever that a lot of people did. And because obviously I'm still single, no commitments like that, I knew I had that freedom to try again. And then Citadel, Marble Bay, I don't even know if the last one I can call that, but yeah, I had 3 verbal offers. And the reason they didn't materialize is because how do we work from home? How do we move our traders? I was right in the middle of that pandemic. What's a vaccine? No one knew what was going on. So I thought Stock Pickers would be a side thing and then they'll call me up and say, but it just didn't work out that way. And then Stock Pickers started to kick off with Clubhouse and all the, my profile was just rising. I went from just doing portfolio doctor sessions with people on their portfolio. The results were coming back to the WhatsApp group saying, guys, I was $8,000 down and now I'm $4,000 up and stuff like this. And now I've made 15 grand in just by doing one of Deb's sessions. And my profile's always been how to turn losses into winners, how to turn losing positions or problems and problem solve that into a winning portfolio. And then I realized, how about people who are starting from scratch? They need a strategy. So this is where I talk about all the different work experience Treasury is like plumbing of the financial system. You need to understand it. I understand stocks, I understand short selling, I understand the selling side of the market, corporate actions. I understand strategy, proprietary side of investing and trading. But how can I create something that is like trading meets investing? Because I'm very against to just buy it and hold it. If you bought and held Barclays shares for the past 10 years, you're down. So it's like, okay, you can't just do that. Even with well-known institutions, there has to be a middle ground. And you need to be willing and able to sell, to take profit and see that as realizing a return that you've made on something. So if you go into something with a 5-year mindset, but then for whatever reason, market conditions, you're making 100% in 2 months, realize your return, take a step back, think, and look again to another long-term investment. But that period from 2020 to 2021, this was happening a lot. Rolls Royce making 150% because there's a rights issue, discount, the price has dropped 40% below the ex-rights price. That's the alert on my watch list. You're going it 2 weeks later, boom. So I understand how to find mispricings, and I understand the kind of strategies they can use to take advantage of the mispricings. And also how to market make stocks. And when you understand how to market make stocks, you are buying highs and you are selling lows. Once you know how to make money in that kind of environment that's loss-making on paper, then you know how to problem solve your way through managing a portfolio that's not doing so well. And that was a skill set that I knew that not many people in the world have. Have that. And watching how algos do it, and being in such a top hedge fund, watching how those algos do it, simplifying it, and then coming into a world where there's zero leverage, and you only lose money if a stock goes bankrupt, but you can, the only thing that you don't have control of is how long it will take for the price to rise or drop or do what, or transition in its story. So I created a strategy, I presented it back to the people through Zoom calls, one-to-one initially, and then group, and then now it's an e-course. So the penny dropped for a lot of people that there is active stock picking, but there's also passive. Now for me, recently, I realized the passive story is extremely important. 3% of people in the UK have a stocks and shares ISA. 3%. That's not about not having money. That's about financial literacy. Because you can do £10 a month in a stocks and shares ISA, or you can do way more. But not having the account set up at all, this is a lack of understanding because people have savings accounts. So a stocks and shares ISA is a savings account, but it enables you to buy shares. And not only that, if you take the S&P 500, which is a collection of the biggest 500 stocks in America, and you invest into that on a direct debit, 100 plus years of data has shown that you will average 10%. The past 10 years, you would have averaged 14%, which basically means that even if you put in, say, £100 a month and started with like £1,000, you'd have like 130k. So why?
Why not?
Why not? You can use the stock market as a long-term savings account, and it's tax-free. But all we know is saving up blindly for a deposit for a house. Once we get money, going to the estate agent and learning there and then what stamp duty is, and then just buying a house. We're even saving blind. We haven't even, and I'm trying to get that for stocks as well. but also let people know that you can do more than 10% if you pick stocks as well and do some crypto. And I'm the right mentor that can not just educate you, but mentor you. Because investing is a game of strategy, having a strategy, and it's also a game of mentoring. It's not a game of reading all the books that Warren Buffett has written and learning by yourself in your room how to value a stock. That's theory, right? Go do a master's and try and get a job in equity research. But that I've got CFA holders, ACCA holders, ACA holders who aren't making money on stocks because they haven't learned a strategy that works and they haven't got that confidence to go ahead and do it. And I know from my career, I've got the confidence, I've got the results. I was everybody's guinea pig. They saw the results. And I've got patience and I've got the ability to teach and I've got the ability to mentor a lot of people at once on this because it's my natural passion. If it's not your natural, if you do something that's not your natural passion, especially with this stuff, my stock pickers wouldn't exist today because 2022, 2023, it was a down year. And in a down year, what do people do? Oh, this ain't for me. I lost it. The reason they stay is because I can have a down year 50% today and people are still staying. Because they're not staying because they're copying what I'm doing and making results in that. They're staying because they're learning. They're staying because they know that I'm the best person. SPA is the best environment for them to navigate this background, right? And they understand the game that, okay, if SPA had a down year, how about Bayless funds and how about Bailey Gifford and how about all the others? And you see, oh, okay, it was the same pattern, it was the same pattern, it was the same pattern, it was the same pattern. Okay, so it's a market thing. And I do not want to teach people how to be a mechanic in stocks and mechanical engineer. I want to teach you how to drive. That's the course. It's teaching you a strategy that works, that you can apply straight away with me as a driving instructor.
Guidance, okay.
Right next to you, every step of the way. So my clients, we can all buy all different stocks from a real-time watch list, which we all share. However, we're all using the same process. That's it.
Okay. Debs, it's been a privilege having you on our podcast. And I'm going to put your details in the section below so that people can join your courses and everything.
Yeah.
We have a tradition on this podcast where we give our guests the opportunity to dedicate the episodes that they feature on to anyone or any group of people of their choice. So who would you like to dedicate today's episode to?
Do you know what? I would like to dedicate this episode to my parents. I won't be there without them. And you know, there's something else like we've covered. I didn't cover too much about Stock Pickers Academy because this is just an outcome, right? I'm running it now, but there's a story behind the person, and there's a story behind why it exists and how we got here. And that story is this kid from Peckham who has navigated his way to doing what I'm doing now, right? And that story begins with my parents and the life we lived and the experiences that I've been through and what I now see as important to give back to the people. And building generational wealth is more than just how much money you can make with your savings. Building generational wealth is actually also, how's your career going? Because it affects your pockets. How is your life insurance going? How is your health? Because if you're not here, you can't even go to work.
Yeah.
You're 6 foot under, right? And it's also, if you're an entrepreneur, how can I support your business? So Stock Pickers, we support people. I was a career mentor first before I was an investing mentor, right? And we've got this group called Coach Cube on WhatsApp. for supporting people in their careers. Whether you're a graduate, whether you've got 10 years or more experience, and then on the weekends, it's free advertising for your business in the same community, in the Telegram group. I always urge people to connect with me on LinkedIn for this reason. So yeah, add me on LinkedIn. Follow me on Stock Pickers Academy on Instagram. And yeah, there's a YouTube channel as well. And if you look at the link tree in my bio, you'll see all the different things.
We'll put all the things on there anyway. Yeah. Debs, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
It's been a fantastic conversation. And if you've enjoyed this conversation, I'd like you to like this episode, leave some comments, share and subscribe. And also like to say a very big thank you to our sponsors, Stanbic Bank, Buckingham Futures, Alexander Ash Consulting and Consulting Professionals Limited. Thank you for making this episode possible. And see you next week. Thanks.
Thank you for having me.